Welcome back, everybody, to the Indianapolis Arrows franchise. The Arrows are really struggling here in season number 3, and we knew it would kind of be this way, but I did want to be more competitive here in season 3. Today is the draft episode, and I would say this is like the final draft to truly not complete the rebuild, but to add the 3 foundational pieces, at least with our first round picks here in this organization. We are 35-51, and you can just see right here, we're playing our young guys, and it's not working out too well, but at least our guys are getting experience. But I think the struggle right now is just that we're not hitting the ball well. We are 29th in batting average, 21st in runs scored, and then our pitching is right in the middle of the road. Now, when I speak of young guys, one of the first young guys that came to mind in this entire series was our number 1 prospect coming into the series in Connor Wiegman, the former Heisman Trophy winner. But at the MLB level, he's hit below 200 for 2 consecutive seasons, and you have to think, he just may need to be shipped out. A lot of you guys have hinted towards it, and maybe that could become a reality. Our young outfielders, including Ojo Taikan is kind of struggling. I'm thinking about moving him down at least to get him some at-bats at AAA. Then there's Lane Thomas, who is not a young prospect or not a young player at all, but I thought he was going to be a guy that would really be a leader this year, but he has proven that maybe he's not ready to be that, and it could be just a 1-year thing with him where we traded for him last trade deadline, and he could be shipped out this trade deadline. So this episode is dedicated to the MLB draft, but what I want to do first is look at our first round draft picks from the first 2 seasons. Ray Gonzalez started out as a 70 overall A potential prospect. He's now up to 78 overall and hitting 267 at the MLB level. So he is actually hitting pretty well for, what we've been expecting of our young players, and I think he's kind of starting to figure it out. So let's just check him out at the MLB level, facing one of the best pitchers in baseball in Gerrit Cole. We'll see what he can do at home. He's hitting here in that 1 spot today, in the leadoff spot, and he will swing and miss at that one. Gerrit Cole fools the young 19-year-old. But Ray Gonzalez has changed his stance a little bit. He's a little more compact, not moving as much, and has definitely helped him focus with his swing and his timing. But he's 0 for 2 to start this game. Now in a 2-1 ball game, Gerrit Cole still on the mound here, but Ray Gonzalez gets a hold of this one deep to left center field into the gap, and it will get over the left fielder's head, and it will be a ground rule double here for Ray Gonzalez. Gonzalez is probably the biggest piece that we have for our rebuild. At 78 overall, I expect that to be like 79, maybe 80 by the end of this season. So a 1 for 3 day here, still Cole on the mound, 95 pitches in this game. Just a hard ground ball to second, and it will be an out. We're down 5-2 in this one. Ray Gonzalez might have one more at bat, and he does here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Now no more Gerrit Cole into the game, but he does draw a walk. And that's one thing I like about Gonzalez is that he does get on base quite a bit. He goes 1 for 4, but he gets on base 2 of the 5 at bats. We end up losing this game despite having one more hit than the Yankees. We had 12 to their 11. Gerrit Cole gets his 8th win of the season. And we lose another one at home. I don't know why we're losing a lot of games at home. That's just been the story this year. So on to season number 2's first round draft pick. It's Terrell Blake. But look at what he is doing this year. Yeah, the stats, the attributes are like decent. He's developing there, but his stats are incredible. Out of 14 games started, he has 12 quality starts. He has a 2.34 ERA, 101.15 whip, and 95 strikeouts and 49 walks. Yes, the walks are kind of high right now, and that's kind of what he is, but he's going to develop. And looking at his best 4 pitches, his four-seam fastball, he has good command with that. His cutter is just decent. His changeup is probably his weakest pitch, but his slider is out of this world. 91 control, 75 break. That's awesome for a 68 overall pitcher, and he's going to just develop into somebody that's going to be very good in the rotation. And it's probably going to take him 2 years in the minors in order to get up to the MLB level, but he's on track to be the minor league player of the year. So that could definitely be fast tracked. And we'll see what he can do here in this AA matchup with our Naturals. As he is 8-3, like I said earlier, we started him out at the AA level in the bullpen. Then we moved him to the starting rotation, and he has taken and ran with that ever since. So he's facing the Springfield Cardinals here in this matchup, and he will get a nice start here at home for the Naturals. He does get a check swing strikeout there for the first at-bat. Wilkerman Garcia at the plate hitting 185. He swings and misses, so 2 straight strikeouts here for our number 1 overall pick a season ago. Chandler Redmond up to the plate. Oh, he gives this one a ride deep to right field, and it stays in the yard, but it does bounce over the wall for a ground rule double. And let's see if Terrell Blake can pitch out of this small jam as it brings up the number 4 hitter, Dom Nunez, who is an MLB level player. This one's low, and a cut fastball will be ball 4. So that brings up the next batter here, Todd Lott to the plate hitting 261. A hard ground ball to Markeith Parsons playing second base. And a nice throw over to the bag will get the 3rd out of the inning. On to the top of the 2nd inning, Terrell Blake just continuing where he left off. That's his 3rd strikeout of the evening. Top 3, another swing and miss off of Mac Chambers, who's hitting 289. That brings up Chandler Redmond, who had that double earlier, but here the runner tries to swipe second, and that is going to be a nice throw by Jim Hall behind the plate. Jim Hall is our top catching prospect in the organization. Top 4 now. Here's Dom Nunez back at the plate. He gets a hold of one deep to center field. That one is off the batter's eye, and it's a home run. So Terrell Blake gives up the first run of the game here. That's Nunez's 9th home run, 433 to dead center, and Blake just simply missed his spot. And that one's gone. A young pitcher is going to make mistakes, so he's not going to be perfect. Top 4, though. Here's a deep fly ball with 2 outs, Cooper Hummel. And that is going to be run down by Clarence Fillmore, who is the center fielder at the AA Naturals. And now we move on to the top of the 5th inning. Still only 1 run given up here in this game, just that solo homer. And Terrell Blake is actually pitching extremely well. Top 6 now, the top of the order, still trying to make contact with Blake, and he is just making everybody swing and miss. We know that his top 2 pitches are that slider and that fastball. Look at that location on that one on the corner. 2 outs here. Nunez, who went deep earlier, and the slider freezes him. 10 strikeouts here for Terrell Blake in this one. Unfortunately, the Cardinals get a 7-1 win versus our Naturals, but it was not his fault. He went 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts through 6 innings. You can just see the potential that we have with Terrell Blake. I'm very, very excited for his future. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the win in that matchup. So now we start the MLB draft here in Season 3. We have the number 4 pick. Let's get into the top 3, the Rockies, A's, and Reds. Then we will pick, and the White Sox are right after us. So the first pick in the 2025 MLB draft, this will be going to the Rockies, J.R. Gomes, who we highlighted in our MLB draft preview last episode as a guy that we could expect to be around with our second pick. He doesn't make it past number 1. He pitched right beside Ray Ramirez, and he goes number 1 overall. Incredible. So number 2 in the draft, the Oakland Athletics have the pick, and they will draft Bernardo Figueroa, a guy that we considered with our number 4 overall pick. He goes off of the board. I did not expect him to go number 2. I knew he would go top 10, but Figueroa was a guy that we were considering as number 3 ranked on our board. Going to the Reds will be Deacon Riddle, a college prospect who was a 4-year junior. He's going to end up being somewhere between 74 and 84 potential. But that leaves us to our pick, and it's pretty much gone exactly how I wanted to. Our top 2 prospects are still on the board, and it's really between 2 guys. Jackie Cochran, the 18-year-old prospect out of Iowa, one of the best high school hitters in the country, and also one of the best defensive infielders in the country as well. He can also play the outfield. I honestly could project him to be a corner outfielder, probably a right fielder if he ends up playing in the outfield. Then there's David McGowan, who could play third base, first base, or second. He is too good of a fielder probably to have at first. So the pick is in with the first pick here, number 4 overall in the 2025 MLB draft. The Indianapolis Aeros will select Jackie Cochran, infielder out of Iowa. This kid can really hit the ball from the right side of the plate. Another piece we're adding, and another great potential guy that we have here at the top of the draft. I think he has a chance to play, like I said, in the outfield long term. I don't think he's a true second baseman. I think he's got too good of an arm to play second base, but he will be a nice cornerstone piece to add to our first 2 picks of this series. Terrell Blake, number 1 last year, and also Ray Gonzalez, who is at the MLB level already as a 19-year-old. So Phil Gwynn goes to the White Sox. David McGowan actually goes 2 picks later. So our next 2 guys that we were looking to pick actually went right after us in the next 2. I'm actually pretty curious on how JJ Nieves at number 7 is going to shake out for the Wranglers. Remember, the Wranglers have a top 5 prospect in baseball in Ivan Lerma. So they are also in the middle of their rebuild. But looking at the next picks, a lot of these guys are kind of ranked all over. Number 15, Robert Ojeda was our number 51 ranked prospect, but he was number 10 in the MLB rank. The number 1 ranked prospect goes number 18 to the Texas Rangers, Damian Richardson. Looking down the board here in the final 10 picks of the first round, Cesar Villa is there. None of these guys we really scouted because we knew we were going to have, the number 4 pick. We did scout a couple of guys here like Juan Moreno. He was the pitcher out of North Carolina. He ends up going to the Angels at number 23. Carson McGee was one of the best college pitchers in college baseball. He goes to number 26 with the Astros. And then Joaquin Hartley, I was hoping that he would drop, but he was actually 66 MLB ranked, and he goes to the Dodgers at number 28. So our next pick is in the second round, pick number 49. So we don't have a competitive balanced round A pick this year. We have to wait all the way. 45 picks later, we are picking. There are a couple of guys we are considering here. First is Juan Rosario. He is a left-handed high school pitcher. We haven't seen him play too much, but he is a decent pitcher overall. And then looking here at our rest of our scouted guys, Adam Ortega, we have him only 35% scouted. Tom Stein, who I really like here, but he is actually still probably going to be on the board in the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round if he falls. So there aren't many guys that I consider higher right now than the guy that we just looked at, and that is Juan Rosario. Juan Rosario is an 18-year-old prospect. He is out of Pennsylvania. We don't have much film on him, but we know that he is a solid high school prospect who could end up being a high-end potential player. So we end up selecting him with our 2nd round pick. Our next pick is at 74, and we made sure to scout a lot of guys around this pick because we knew we'd have 2 picks pretty much back-to-back, 74 to 86. That's only 12 picks apart. So we wanted to make sure that we scout a few guys. First, Peter Whitaker was one of the guys that I really liked here. He was draft ranked number 93. We ended up scouting him a little bit more. He ended up moving up to 76. But one guy I really like is Leo Gonzalez. He is out of USC. He is a left-handed prospect. He is 23 years old, maybe a little older, but I'm banking on him possibly being a really good pro down the road. So with our 3rd pick in this draft, Leo Gonzalez out of USC, a 23-year-old left-handed prospect. We decided to go back-to-back lefties here in this draft, and hopefully we will hit on at least one of them. One thing I will bank on is that our scouts are very accurate. So hopefully he comes in as a 80, 81, or 82 potential prospect and high 60s overall to start. With our 4th pick in this draft, we are at number 86. And like I said, I wanted to scout a lot of guys around this range and to make sure we vet a lot of guys that we possibly could have as future cornerstones. One guy I really like here is John Field out of Penn State. He is a very high potential prospect, 85 to 98. How can we pass on that potential right here? Even if we have to give him a few years to develop, he's going to be very solid into his mid-20s, and I cannot take the risk of letting him fall. So with this pick, we go with John Field. He was not ranked in the MLB rankings, but he ends up being 122. So we may reach on him a bit, but that 85 to 98 potential is pretty hard to ignore. So pick number 116 in the 4th round. We have a lot of options here. We have Todd Meredith, who is still here. We have him ranked at number 94, and we are at pick number 116, exactly where he's MLB ranked. His attributes are awesome. But here's the thing. I fell in love with a prospect, Fred Scott, out of Alabama. He is an amazing base runner. Like, he could be the fastest guy in this entire draft, and he's an awesome contact leadoff hitter. He had an on-base percentage of 485. 485 as a junior. How was he ranked this low? The scouts are saying his ceiling is a little lower, but what we're going to do is, if his potential is lower than his overall, we're going to just match it. So if he's 65 overall, he's going to have 65 potential. If he's 77 overall, he's going to have 77 potential. That's just how it's going to be. I really, really like his potential as a potential center fielder at the MLB level. So with our 5th round pick, I think we're just going to take a little flyer here. There are a lot of guys here that we have no idea how good they're going to be, and we don't have many catching prospects. So we're just going to reach here for Ryan Hagan out of Florida. He is an 18-year-old catcher. I have no rush to, have a catcher that's going to be ready MLB right now. I definitely have, some interesting questions in the organization about a catcher, because Jim Hall is 21. I'm not even sure he'll be ready next year, but he is our top catching prospect, and I need another catching prospect that at least I can develop. So on to round 6, pick number 176, and we have one guy that I have been having my eye on this entire process. It's Matt Taylor. Our scouts found him. He was not ranked, but we are going to select him with our final pick. I think this could actually end up being the steal of the draft, and I say that because this was a guy that was not ranked, but he is ranked 104. 104 is actually really, really good at the bottom of this draft, at the way last round, and we get good value out of him. If we end up, getting a good potential guy here, this could end up being a steal. So let's skip ahead a little bit, and we will rewind back to the games at the MLB level in the minors as well next episode. But I skip ahead. We did sign all of our draft picks, so let's get a closer look. Our number 1 pick was Jackie Cochran. He ends up being 87 potential, 71 overall. He is exactly what I wanted out of this pick. Wow, he is a good hitter. He's got good power versus left. Pretty good clutch right away as an 18-year-old. Decent vision at 50. He's an okay fielder right now, but if he develops, he's going to be excellent. His speed, obviously very, very similar to Ray Gonzalez coming out, and he's never going to be a fast player, but a very good pick. Juan Rosario ends up being solid also, so our scouts are right here. 65 overall and 80 potential. I took a risk in drafting him, and it ended up paying off. He has great stamina. His hits per 9 is very, very low. I'm kind of concerned about that. But his walks per 9, he's going to have excellent command. He also has a 96 mile an hour 4-seam fastball. Leo Gonzalez was a guy that I was excited about, mainly because I wanted to draft 2 lefties here in this draft. I need some lefties in our organization. Leo Gonzalez is 23 years old, 64 overall, 79 potential, so might as well be a B, right? And I like what I have out of these 2 guys. Like, Rosario and Gonzalez together are going to get to develop side by side, and we're going to get to see like who's going to develop a little bit better. They are similar potentials and similar overalls, just 5 years apart. John Field may be the steal of this draft. How did he fall this far, being 98 potential? Just insane. He is gonna be really good. He's only 57 overall right now, but having that high A potential is going to be great. I can't wait to see what he develops into. He's actually 95 potential. I said 98, but 95 potential. That's a huge steal. Fred Scott ends up being 74 overall, and his potential is lower, so he's going to end up, I'm going to fix it so that he is 74 potential. This reminds me a lot of Keith Rice. I mean, Keith Rice we drafted, he was 75 overall and 75 potential. Fred Scott's going to be 74 overall and 74 potential. Look at the vision, look at the discipline, look at the clutch, but look at the speed. 96 speed. I mean, he is going to be a crazy good potential leadoff hitter, or maybe the last hitter in the lineup to produce some runs. We took a chance on Ryan Hagan. He ends up not being actually too bad because his overall 48 obviously, but potential at 77, he could at least be a trade chip in a possible future trade. Then our final pick ends up being Matt Taylor, 56 overall, B potential. He is 19 years old. I do like this pick a lot because there's no pressure for him to be anything. He's the last pick in the draft and he ends up being 81 potential. So overall, I am very, very happy with this draft class. I would say this is better than last year's class, and I would say it's probably a little bit better than our first year's class, just based on getting John Field. He is going to be a 95 potential guy to develop. I really, really love it. Frankie McCall ends up going to the Twins. He looks like a very good prospect for the Twins. 89 potential, 69 overall right now. We definitely missed on him. I don't even remember seeing him at all. JJ Nieves, though, for the Wranglers ends up being 68 potential, 51 overall. They definitely missed there at the top of the first round. Then looking at the rest of their picks, I don't see anybody that's really going to be a viable option for them. And I'm going to match all of their potentials with their overall. So this guy, Phil Nelson, is going to end up being a 67 potential because he's 67 overall. I'm going to match their organization as well if they come in lower than their overalls. Looking at the rest of the teams in the division, the Cleveland Guardians do get a 98 potential guy in Tyler O'Neill this late in the draft. Wow. This was an excellent pick here. I have no idea how we missed on him. Phil Gwynn ends up going to the White Sox. The White Sox have drafted extremely well the last couple of years. They draft Phil Gwynn. Obviously, he was probably number 3 as far as the guys we had to pick there at pick number 4. I had them ranked as far as who we would select. Cochran was definitely our number 1 guy, but Gwynn, excellent arm strength, good power. Can't wait to see what he's going to do with the White Sox. They ended up drafting Carmine Sanchez, a left-handed pitcher who is a relief pitcher, probably a closer. And the rest of their picks are also pretty decent. I want to look around the rest of the MLB. Are there any generational prospects? We have not had any so far in this series, and so far it does not look good. Joaquin Hartley goes to the Dodgers. He ends up being 88 potential, 63 overall. He was definitely the guy I was going to pick with our second pick if he was there. He ends up being a really good player. But looking around the rest of the MLB, I see nobody who has a higher potential than the 98 potential guy that we saw picked earlier, but I just don't see any generational prospects for the third straight year. David McGowan, 18 years old, 65 overall, 87 potential. He looks good, but I don't see any like high A potential guys. I don't see very high overall guys. This was probably a good draft class, but no generational prospects. I'm waiting for that draft class where we do have generational prospects. We have not received it yet, and I'm hoping that we draft one of those guys also. But a good draft here for the Arrows. I really, really enjoyed this draft because we did our due diligence, scouted a lot of guys, scouted the depth of this draft, and it ended up working out for us. We drafted John Field, 95 potential. I really, really like him. I can't say that enough. And then Matt Taylor with our last pick is a pretty much a low pressure prospect who's just going to have years to develop and could turn into something really, really good 3-4 years down the road. So let me know what you guys thought of this draft as we conclude this episode. I had a lot of fun scouting here, and we'll see if the Arrows at the MLB level can get it together and maybe turn it around here and possibly compete for a wild card spot. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tenant. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side. But I'm from the east side, this how we slide. This how we ride, yeah, this how we ride.